it's Tamara, and I just wanted to kind of respond today to a question that I've heard on a number of occasions, which is, how do I make my bindings like this? People are really curious about the binding. So I just thought I would go ahead and show that real quick. This is not my invention. I'll put the link to the person whom I learned it from at in the comment section or whatever, so that you can go, she can get the credit where the credit is due. But I have this Mother Goose Disney junk journal. I've already kind of gotten it all ready to go for the purpose of this video, but I just thought I would share real quick kind of the tools I used to get it going. So first of all, I put together the book by creating just a little piece of cardboard. Like literally, I use the parts that are inside the scrapbook, like the back and the front cover. I use that for the inside of here. It's part of like my recycling foraging goal. And then I put a cute piece right here that I want to be part of the theme. So for this one, I've got Mickey, and so I chose the buttons that are just in the same color as what Mickey's clothes are. And then on the inside, I do cover the whole thing. And then I'm obsessive about making sure that it doesn't fall apart or like the corners lift up. And so I sew all of the edges down and make sure that everything is really secure. And then, so then I can trust the book that it's going to function, you know, nicely. So from there, I take one of these guys. So this is just some leftover paper from, I don't even know what it's from, but I just take a ruler and I score it every 1.5 inches, and then whatever 1.5 inches across the book size is what I do. And then you'll see this little arrow right here, and whoops, sorry about that. This arrow points up because I want that to be the direction that I'm always going in the book. Even though I've measured it and it's supposed to be all the same, I'm a human being and not a robot, so it's not all perfect. And if I put the direction on there, then I'm not going to have like one weird one that's turned the opposite way that I'm trying to sew into the book, and I'm like, oh my gosh! So basically I just take an awl and I eyeball it. I don't use a ruler for this part. And of course, this is like some notes that I took, and I just poke it. Boop, boop, and I just put like a sponge underneath me or a pillow, and I just poke it, and there are 3 spots, and I make sure and line them up. And I line up, when I do this, I make sure that the top and the bottom are parallel to the edges of the cover. And then from there, I do the same thing inside each of my signatures. And so this is signature number 1, so this has got the title page on it. And then I make sure that I've got all my pockets facing the right direction, and everything is kind of placed, like I don't want everything at the bottom, so that's like a little bit higher. And I will do the same thing. And what I do for that to make sure it's in the center, so before I poke it, I do like this, and make sure that the top and the bottom are sticking out the same distance, so that when it settles into the actual book and it seats into there, it's not going to be like hanging out on the bottom of it, so that it'll actually be seated against the holes there. And then I poke those going straight down so that I do get into the through the whole book, like in the center corner, if that makes sense. And is it called the gutter? I don't know. So anyway, that's like the process to get here. So by the time I'm here, I've got 3 sets of holes for one set of holes for each signature, and then I have these all taken care of too. So now next part is to put these guys in. So I've got some waxed thread right here, and then I have actually some binding needles, and I don't want a huge needle because it does have to fit through the eye has to fit through the buttons. And so if I get some gigantic needle happening, then I have to use huge buttons, and that doesn't work for me. I like to have like 1 or 2 big buttons on a binding, and then the rest of them need to be mediums and smalls. So here's the wax thread, and all I do for that is I just kind of hold it up to the book. Whoops. I'm like having an opposite issue. Like I need to be over in this corner more. I hold it up to the book like that, snip, whoop, and then just put that right through here. And I don't know why, I don't have a specific reason, but I do like to work from back to front in my books. So I'm going to start with the back. And I've started using the little golden books because, like, look how lovely it is for laying flat. I love that. My other ones, I like them too, but they're always curled. And so when you're writing in them, it works, but it's just a little bit more athletic. You need to get a little more muscle into it. I start right in the center hole. So these have already been all like, the awl has gone through. And so this is the trickiest one, is to figure out, I mean, even if you have like perfectly left it, putting that first time through can be a little bit tricky. Come on, baby, go through there. And then one of the tricky parts is I do stuff all of my pages as I make them, because I found when I go through and stuff the books afterwards, I do weird stuff. But I have a better tendency to stay on theme if I stuff them as I make them. So sometimes my tags will pick up, so I'm going to poke it through that middle one. And when I first started doing this, I would always forget that I need to put a button on. And I don't have like a specific thing I'm going to do. I'm going to start, I guess, with a red, because that's really important for me to have that on there. So, and you can put one on there and you can have it kind of sparse, or you can do like this one. I have a lot of buttons on there because I wanted to show all those different colors of the jungle for Peter Pan. I haven't even decided what I'm going to do for this one yet, so I'll just do like a medium red and a little eensy weensy gray. And then the nice thing about using the buttons is that it kind of makes it so it's harder to pull the thread through. Like, pull the thread through the hole. Flip her over and go through the holes right here. It's a little bit tedious. Like, when I'm making the books, this is the least creative and therefore the least or the most boring part for me. But using the buttons does help. And I'm constantly making it really tight. I've been really surprised at how durable paper is. However, vintage paper, like I have some really brittle old music paper from like 1908 and stuff. One time I was kind of yanking on my threads and pulling the paper and pulling the threads really tight, and they bit right through the paper. So, and it just popped it out. So that was a good lesson for me to learn, that first of all, older papers don't necessarily like to be foundations, and that if I do use them, I need to be gentle with them. I can't abuse them like I can these newer papers that have so much elasticity and endurance. Like, you can just really trash on some of these guys. Get this through. Come on, baby. Come on. Come on. There we go. Sometimes you'll go right through the middle of a piece of thread, and then you end up with kind of like this pseudo knot. It's just chilling in the middle of your book, and you have to go back through and undo it, because that's not a happy thing to have happen. The other thing that I have happen sometimes is the thread will wrap around a button. Oh, the trials and tribulations of junk journal binding, right? I want to get, so this is one of my bigger buttons that I'll have on here. Apparently, I'm populating this pretty heavily with buttons. I'm feeling pretty buttony for this guy. So that's fine with me. This cover, while really cute, isn't as bright. And so I was thinking, like, when I made the tassel that's going with this one, that it needed to really bring out the traditional Mickey. And so I think that the traditional, Mickey colors. So like you can see as I'm getting towards the end of this one, that it just pops right through, because everything is lined up with the all holes at this point. But I wanted to go traditional Mickey and really bright, just so it would brighten it up just a little bit. All right. right, so I'm gonna go with a yellow. I'm gonna go big yellow down here. Oh, the yellow. Okay, so what do you think? Is that a good start to that? I think that's a good start. I think I want to do a texture button. So I've got these little, I always imagine these were from Laura Ingalls Wilder's boots. Yeah, they have just fabric on the back right there, and then they're just covered. I don't know what the name of them is. I get most of my buttons at Goodwill or antique shops. When I see a big jar of them and they're just ditching them for like $5, I'm like, ooh, that's mine. So I don't know what the status of my buttons are. And then, sorry, I put that needle in my mouth so I couldn't talk. And then I just pull it really tight and make a square knot. I like to leave my tails a tiny bit long because there have been times when I've discovered a mistake or something happens and I'm able to untie that square knot. So that's the first signature sewn in to this particular book. And it looks like that. And then you can go back through and move these around a touch and it will cover up the holes. And that's really why I like using this button binding system, because it allows I like the binding to be seen, but I don't like it, like the holes to be really like too hyper visual, if that makes any sense. So going on to the next one, same thing, pretty much. Second verse, same as first, a little bit louder and a little bit worse. Can tell that I went to camp when I was a kid. That's one of those things that my own kids haven't really done a whole lot of, is camp. They went to camp with, owie. They went to camp with their school group. My daughter did, but that's been the extent of camp, like sleepaway camp for my kids. Whereas I, as a Girl Scout, just loved camp and was even a camp counselor eventually. But now it seems like my kids just go to Camp Disney, which means mom and dad pay for a hotel room and go to Disneyland. I think that I would have liked that camp as well. What about you? I think I also could have been pretty cool with a crafting camp of any kind. They're crafting at camp. It was always the same. Like you decorated a visor, you made some weird picture frame, but I was all about it. I was thinking about my crafting because I wanted to be on that show Making It. I don't know if you've seen that reality show. It just looked so fun to just have that challenge to just like go crazy and make all this stuff, and you know, it'd be kind of cool to go do that. So I was really thinking about the origins of my makerness and how I really used a lot of recyclable materials when I was a kid. Like I dug through the garbage and would see potential in weird stuff that I'd find in the kitchen, or you know, my mom was the secretary at a high school for years, and so she would bring home like old books or attendance slips that the dates were expired, and just, you know, weird stuff like that. And so I have always used just that kind of stuff. And so when I started making as an adult, it was just like I fell back on my old foraging habits. And now though, it's fun because I found like thrift shops that I love, and like I found antique malls recently. Like I was like, why haven't I ever found an antique mall before? Like, why haven't I tried this? Oh, I definitely need a red. Let's see, is that gonna go? Gonna have to shift it around sometimes and make sure that the buttons aren't gonna overlap and bug each other. But last week I went to an antique mall and I found this really cool old lookbook. And at the back of it, it was just full of fashion, like flapper fashion from the 1920s. Because it was a magazine that was like from 1920 something. And it was just so cool. It was just like one after another, almost like the pattern books in a way. But there were just so many of them. So it was really like almost, I don't want to sound like too much of a paper nerd, but it was exciting. You know, when you've been looking for things and you just come across a thing that's different than what you expected it to be. Because if I'm perfectly honest, I'm obsessed with finding the pattern counter books. You know, like Vogue fashions and all of that, McCall's fashions. I'm kind of obsessed with finding a pattern book from the 50s or, you know, the 60s or something that has like funky old fashions from ye olden days. And, but I haven't come across one of those. I have looked on eBay and I have found some, but I don't know why. I just want to organically like come across it. So finding this little lookbook was a really good replacement. All right. Dose is done. Okay, so I'm going to seat these little buttons. And then get on to the last one. I'm not thrilled with the fact that I put red, red, and black, black. So if I were thinking instead of talking, then I probably wouldn't have made that mistake. Now the question is, do I continue that pattern or do I change it? I think I will change it. Because I like things to look a little bit random and unplanned, hence the amount of different tags and journaling spots and ephemera pieces and all that. I like to get my needle through the first layer before I put it in the book, just because at this point there's so much in there already. Right there. Oh, that was literally between Mickey's eyes, like on the inside pages. Right here. See that? Right between the eyes. Poor Mickey. Sorry. I'm a second grade teacher in my other life. The one that is not summer break. And so I have a tendency to do a lot of voices and stuff. Ah, this needle does not want to go through here. Let's see. Come on, come on, come on. Nope. Let's see. Got some pliers here. Ah, look at that. It's magic. All right, and then I'm going to put a little gray one on there. I can move these scissors out of the way so I'm not bumping into them. I have a tendency to get piles of stuff underneath me so that all of a sudden I'm working on top of a pile and I'm thinking, why am I not cleaning this up and moving these things out of the way? So I've made it a habit over the last couple months to intentionally kind of clean up my stuff as I go. And at least once a week I do a big clean where I kind of look at my organization system and see what really needs to continue to be there and what can be shifted. You know, since this craft continues to go through materials at a rapid rate, I don't need to, you know, dedicate a specific box to Disney stuff or Harry Potter stuff just because it was that. So I make myself go through that regularly. Otherwise, things just kind of get out of control, and then I end up with nested boxes full of weird stuff that I don't want to look at anymore. That's no fun to look at, and so I don't. So anyway, I've just gotten a lot more intentional about things over the last little bit because I've increased so much with with my makerism. I don't know, what do you call it? I like thinking of myself as a maker more than a crafter. Crafting, like, it implies, like, it kind of marginalizes, like, what this is, you know, and allows people to judge it in a different way. And so I like being a maker better because it's broader and it allows, it's not so gender specific like crafting, even though craftsman, you know, but crafting is generally a woman's thing. And I find that, like, I have to justify crafting in a way that I don't have to justify being a maker to people who want to mansplain the world to me. Sorry if I'm sounding a little bit weird, but okay, go through. Come on, right back through Mickey's eyes there. All right, that pulled that through a little bit, hopefully. Oh, good. I was worried that I doubled through the thread. Okay, so I think I need a yellow right there. Oh, I'm gonna do this pretty sparkly. It's a glitter yellow. If you can hear that music, it's Main Street music that plays in Disneyland. And this guy is just about done. Just have like 2 more stitches and 2 more buttons. So I'm thinking we'll do a bigger black one down here. No, first thing I do a red. Red here. And then we'll do, I have this black one that's got this pretty little flower pattern on it. Come on through there. There you go. Tuck that in there. And this page was the woman who lived in the shoe. Had so many children, she didn't know what to do. But it spread over the 2 pages, and so I left it complete. It's a little bit weird because this is the gutter of the book, and so the book is a little, or the shoe is a little bit longer than it would look in the picture, but I still like it. I think it looks good. Oops, let me look back here real quick, make sure my threads are all in the right spots. Indeed they are. Okay, tie this guy. Nice square knot. All right, give it a snip. All right, now I'll take a peek at my buttons one more time and seat them. And put him up there. That will be right there. That goes down there. All right, this looks really good. I'm very happy with this book. Okay, that turned out really good. And now I'm going to take this hole puncher, give it a little punch on top right here. I should probably start doing that before I put the pages in. Still new to this though, so I'll punch that right there. And I have my tassel all ready to go. This is just a little, one of those rings, a binder ring. Tuck that through. It's okay, just leave it open, it's fine. And voila. There it is, all done. So that is how I do the binding, the button binding. And I hope that answers any questions that you may have had. Have a great day.